You can't play games with yourself in this business. I can sing, but I'm not a trained, polished, theoretical singer.
When you think of Jerry Reed, you think of his unmistakable guitar riffs and his role in some of the most iconic country hits. But behind his brilliant music and smooth voice lay a life marked by struggles and challenges that few know about. This video dives deep into the sad truth of Jerry Reed's journey from fame to a tragic end. Was his personal life doomed from the start? Let's uncover the untold story. A rough start. Jerry Reed's early life was not at all exciting. He was born on March 20th, 1937 in Atlanta, Georgia, and grew up in a working-class family that shaped him in many ways. His mother, who wanted to be a singer, saw early on that he had musical talent. But because his father left him when he was a child, Jerry had to quickly learn how important it is to work hard. He would play his guitar for hours on end, which was a gift from his mother. But life wasn't easy. Reed's love for music kept growing even though things were hard. But it wasn't until he was a teenager that his ability really started to shine. By the time he was a youth, he was already well known in the area as a talented guitarist. His ability to play with such accuracy amazed everyone. He liked country music as well as rockabilly music, but Jerry had his own sound that would go on to shape his whole career. But it was his humble roots that kept him grounded. How did this young man from Georgia who was having a hard time become one of the most important people in country music? After high school, Reed worked for a short time in cotton mills to help pay for his family. But his music was always there. He kept training, playing, and trying to get better at what he did. He joined the Army when he was 18 years old and served for 2 years. Reed found a way to keep his love of music alive while going to war for his country. He played in bands while he was in the military, which helped him keep improving his skills. But when he got back to the U.S., things got really tough. How I got to where I am now wasn't easy. Jerry Reed had to deal with the harsh facts of the music business, like being turned down and being forgotten. He made a big step forward when he went to Nashville in 1962. That move would change his life forever. Jerry jumped right into the music scene with the help of his wife, Priscilla, who was a talented country singer herself. They both wanted to make it in Nashville, which made him even more determined. But what really pushed him into the spotlight? This was Reed's first minor hit, Goodnight Irene, which came out in 1963. But things really took off when he worked with famous producer Chet Atkins. Atkins saw Reed's promise and became an important part of his career by helping him learn and producing his early work. Along with Atkins, Jerry honed his famous guitar style, which is now called the claw. This method quickly became his signature, and other musicians started to recognize him. Reed stood out not only because of his sound, but also because of his ability to write songs that people could relate to. But even as Reed became more well-known, he had problems at home and in the business. Even though Jerry Reed's fame was growing, he was having money problems and wasn't sure what his future held. Not only did he have the skills, but the chances were against him. Reed would have one of his hardest times during this time. His career was in danger because he didn't have many #1 songs. He wouldn't give up, though. Reed was very driven. This drive would finally make him successful, but it would also present him with some problems. In 1967, Reed debuted Guitar Man, a song that would forever change the course of his career. The song became a national sensation right away, making him a well-known figure. Reed didn't just want to act, though. He also wanted to make things, be an artist. Because he wanted to be successful, he wrote and performed songs that were brave, real, and unique. There was more to this man than just a young man trying to get famous. There was an artist trying to leave a memory. But was the path to fame too hard for him? Would Reed's personal problems and the stress of being famous finally get to him? Jerry Reed's career had taken off by 1971. Country music history will always remember him for hits like When You're Hot, and Eastbound and Down. But despite his huge success, the problems inside him and the demands from the outside were starting to show. Even though he was strong in love and loyalty, his personal life was full of problems that prepared him for the tough times that were to come. Could Jerry Reed's hard childhood have been the very thing that made him have problems later on? In the next part, we'll talk more about how complicated Reed's personal life is, how Jerry Reed took over Hollywood and country music. In 1967, Jerry Reed's big break came when the song Guitar Man came out. This song cemented his place in country music history and paved the way for his fame. Individuals who heard the song were immediately drawn to Reed's unique and exciting guitar style, which would later become his signature. Guitar Man wasn't just a hit, though, it was a statement. There was a new sound in country music, and Jerry was the man who created it. He mixed rockabilly, blues, and fingerstyle guitar in a way that was truly Southern. But that was only the start. Jerry Reed was good at a lot of different things. At the same time that his country singing career was taking off, he was also becoming known for his acting. When he was cast in Smokey and the Bandit, 1977, it was his big break in Hollywood. The movie made him famous all over the world. Reed met a lot of new people when he played the Snowman, the truck driver who worked with Burt Reynolds' character Bandit. Fans loved how he played the rugged, charming, and funny Jerry Reed, and all of a sudden everyone knew his name. But how did he balance his increased fame in Hollywood with his work as a country music singer? Reed's success wasn't limited to one type of music or group. In the 1970s, he became popular with people outside of country music, which wasn't common for country artists at the time. Because of his sense of humor, charm, and undeniable screen presence, he was a natural for movie parts. In country music, his growing list of chart-topping hits like When You're Hot made him an unstoppable force. Even though he was happy about his newfound fame at first, it didn't take long for it to catch up with him. Man could stay steady in both Hollywood and country music, but would he lose something about himself? Reed gave more than just a performance in Smokey and the Bandit, he raised the culture bar. The movie was a hit right away, and Reed's snowman figure will always be remembered in pop culture. Even though it was only a small part, his performance in the movie made him famous and solidified his place in the public eye. But with so much fame came a lot of attention. Reed was busy enjoying his Hollywood fame, but things were going badly in his personal life. Was his big-time image hiding the deeper problems he was having off-screen? Jerry Reed's singing career went in a different direction as he became more famous. He was famous not only for singing and playing the guitar, but also for the way he mixed humor and grit in his shows. There was stress behind the fame, though, that many people didn't see. Even though the country music world loved him, it was hard for him to balance his work with his personal problems. It makes you wonder if the attention he got in Hollywood gave him the break he needed, or if it was just more pressure that pushed him over the edge. Reed's music would continue to change, but becoming an actor was his biggest break into the public. Because of his part in Smokey and the Bandit, he became famous, and his songs kept him famous for years. Reed continued to be successful, but he later said that fame wasn't the cure-all that many people thought it was. Even the fame that seemed to help his work would eventually cause him to have problems in his personal life that most of his fans didn't see coming. Could Jerry ever find the peace he really wanted in the world of entertainment? Or was it ultimately impossible to escape? Jerry Reed's iconic guitar style that changed country music. If Jerry Reed's voice and charisma made him a household name, it was his guitar playing that truly set him apart from his peers. Known for his groundbreaking technique, Reed's claw style of playing became a defining feature of his career and revolutionized country guitar. The claw wasn't just a technique, it was an intricate blend of finger-picking and thumb-picking that allowed Reed to perform fast-paced, rhythmic patterns that were incredibly difficult to replicate. Reed's guitar work wasn't just a flashy gimmick. His style was built on precision and intricacy, creating a sound that was undeniably unique and instantly recognizable. It's easy to forget just how revolutionary his contributions to country music were, especially when his fame as a singer and actor took center stage. Yet underneath it all, it was his guitar playing that served as the foundation of his legendary status. But what exactly made the claw so special? The claw technique involved using the thumb to strike the bass notes while simultaneously plucking the strings with the other fingers. This technique enabled Reed to produce a rhythmically rich sound that could keep pace with his rapid-fire lyrics. It was fast, fiery, and full of flair, a perfect match for his high-energy performances. However, the technique also came with its challenges. While it was a defining part of Reed's sound, the complexity of the claw meant that few could replicate it with the same level of mastery. One of the key reasons Reed's guitar style stood out was how it elevated his songs to new heights. Tracks like Guitar Man and Amos Moses showcased Reed's claw technique in all its glory, blending technical proficiency with pure emotion. But Jerry's style wasn't confined to just his own songs. His guitar work became a staple in the music of others, earning him coveted spots as a session player for the likes of Elvis Presley and many other legendary artists of the time. His guitar was integral to the sound of some of the most iconic tracks in history. However, while Reed was able to establish his guitar prowess, his role in the music world wasn't always appreciated. As an artist known for his unique finger-picking style, many country guitarists didn't fully understand or embrace the claw technique at first. It wasn't until later that Jerry's style became widely acknowledged as groundbreaking. But how did it take so long for others to recognize Reed's guitar skills as one of the cornerstones of modern country music? Despite its immense influence on the genre, Reed's guitar skills often took a back seat to his burgeoning fame as a singer and actor. This was especially true as his Hollywood career gained momentum, with his movie roles taking up more and more of his time. Yet Reed never abandoned his passion for music. Even when his acting career reached new heights, he remained an active presence in the music scene. But as his career progressed, Reed struggled to balance both worlds. How did this dual career affect his personal and professional life? And did his guitar playing suffer as a result? In the end, Jerry Reed's guitar work was integral to his legacy. His contribution to country music wasn't just in the songs he wrote or the performances he gave, but in the way he redefined the guitar itself. Today, his claw technique continues to inspire musicians around the world, proving that Jerry Reed's influence on the genre will forever remain. But was his true genius as a musician overshadowed by his fame? We'll explore this in the next section. Jerry Reed struggles with addiction and personal demons. Behind the glitzy image of Jerry Reed, country music's virtuosic guitarist and beloved actor, was a man haunted by personal demons that he tried desperately to keep hidden from the public. Although he was celebrated for his musical genius and larger-than-life persona, Jerry's struggles with addiction and mental health issues painted a much darker picture behind the scenes. For years, these personal battles went largely unnoticed by fans and the media. But what was it about Jerry Reed's life that remained a closely guarded secret? Despite the success he enjoyed in his music and acting careers, Reed's struggles with alcohol and substance abuse were a constant companion. It's often said that the pressures of fame can break even the strongest of people, and in Jerry's case, his fame seemed to feed into a cycle of self-destructive behavior. His rise to stardom in country music and Hollywood wasn't just built on talent. It was also fueled by his battle with addiction, a problem that no one wanted to talk about. His own demons came at a personal cost, and as much as he tried to hide them, they couldn't be ignored. While Reed's career flourished in the 1970s, his personal life was a constant tug-of-war between his public image and his private struggles. He became known not just for his music but for his charismatic presence in movies like Smokey and the Bandit. However, behind the camera and offstage, addiction was already beginning to chip away at his foundation. Alcohol and drugs became a coping mechanism for the pressures of fame, the stress of his relentless work schedule, and the toll it took on his mental health. The truth was, Jerry's personal struggles were often brushed under the rug by those around him. It was easier to focus on his accomplishments, his hit songs, and his successful acting career rather than acknowledge that the man behind the fame was grappling with things that could eventually destroy him. For many years, fans only saw the confident, charming performer. But what did the public never learn about Jerry Reed's private battles? How did these struggles affect his work and relationships? Although he was a master of disguise on the stage, Jerry's addiction was beginning to take its toll on his professional life. His work ethic was unmatched, but his struggle with alcohol and substance abuse gradually affected his performance. Whether in the studio or on film sets, Jerry found it increasingly difficult to maintain the energy and focus that made him a star. Despite these challenges, Reed's commitment to his craft kept him going, even though his personal life was falling apart. In the public eye, Jerry Reed was everything people admired, a talented, hard-working, and humorous man who seemed to have it all. But in the privacy of his own life, Jerry was struggling to keep up the facade. As his addiction worsened, so did his personal relationships. His marriage, family life, and friendships all bore the brunt of his addiction. His loved ones were caught in the crossfire of his self-destructive behavior, but they too tried to keep up the illusion of perfection. What did Jerry hope to hide from the world? And more importantly, what would it take for him to face his demons? The toll of addiction wasn't just physical. It was mental and emotional too. By the time the 1980s rolled around, Jerry Reed was a man who had lived through a whirlwind of success, but at what personal cost? The cracks in his once immaculate persona were starting to show. Was it possible for Reed to overcome the ghosts of his past, or would they haunt him forever? How Jerry Reed's life spiraled out of control. Jerry Reed's life, both personally and professionally, had started to spin down by the 1980s. Once a relentless force in Hollywood and country music, the once unquenchable force was now battling the very addictions and personal issues defining his private life. Hits like Guitar Man and When You're Hot, You're Hot had laid the path to glory, but by now Reed was losing control. Jerry Reed's life fell apart so rapidly. How did his problems affect his career? For Jerry Reed personally as much as for the globe, the 1980s were a decade of tremendous change. His personal conflicts were no more something one could hide behind the blazing lights of the entertainment industry. Addiction dogged him even with his early achievements. His worsening battles with drink and drugs seriously affected his health as well as his profession. Once among the most brilliant performers in country music, the guy suddenly found himself struggling simply to maintain his footing in the industry he had once controlled. Jerry Reed's music career was beginning to wane by now. His once revolutionary guitar methods, his special mix of country, rock, and blues, were insufficient to keep his name front and foremost. The music business had evolved, and Reed, who had always taken great satisfaction in his ability to adapt, discovered he was fighting a losing war. Personal problems worsened this struggle. His addiction was already compromising his physical condition. Now it was starting to affect his profession. Years behind him was his last great hit. Without the momentum he previously possessed, it gets more difficult to remain relevant. Apart from his health and drug issues, Jerry Reed's financial circumstances started to go out of hand. Years of relentless travel and heavy spending have taken their toll. He was no more the rich celebrity he had been in the 1970s. Instead, Reed discovered he was having increasing financial problems. His professional reputation started to suffer as his personal issues persisted. The once beloved star now battled personally as much as financially to make ends meet. The fall was a slow, agonizing trip. Jerry's relationships deteriorated along with his addiction. Once a source of fortitude, his marriage started to him continual stress. His family life had suffered under the weight of celebrity, addiction, and financial disaster. Was there any possibility for Jerry Reed to reconstruct his life, or had his personal hardships permanently tarnished his career? Though his personal predicament was severe, Reed did try to get well. The damage had already been done, even as he sought to purify himself and reconcile with his past. His reputation in Hollywood as well as in music had been damaged, and it appeared as though the world had gone on. Jerry Reed's decline from glory was about losing himself, not only about money or reputation. Was this the end of the road, or could Jerry Reed ever make a comeback? Reed faded from public view as his health kept failing. Still, the question begged, could he ever rebuild from the ruins of his past? The road back to success was long, and for Jerry, it might have been one he would never really finish. Tragic last years of Jerry Reed. Jerry Reed's once active work and personal life had been devoured by the results of his past decisions by the late 1990s. Though his artistic legacy would endure, the last years of his life were defined by illness, personal loss, and a sequence of tragedies that pointed up the actual cost of his past. Once a star-studded career now looked eclipsed by a sequence of terrible events. One of the last blows to Reed's career came from his fight with emphysema, a disorder brought on by years of smoking and bad lifestyle choices. Years of struggling with respiratory issues, he knew by late 1990s that the illness would probably kill him. Losing his ability to sing and play the guitar was a terrible blow for someone so profoundly linked with music and performance. Once strong and capable of producing the unique claw technique that transformed country guitar playing, his hands were now feeble and unable to perform in the same manner. Reed's relationship with his family started to sour as his health declined. Together with the effects of his illness, Reed's battle with addiction meant he was no longer the husband or father he once was. Those close to him observed a man who had been larger than life but was suddenly driven low by events beyond his control. Years had passed with holes in his personal life, but as his health deteriorated, people close to him had to face the whole depth of his drop. The financial turbulence Reed had experienced for years added to his worsening health. While he had made millions in his prime, years of careless spending and bad financial management had left him in a vulnerable position. The financial stability that had seemed strong started to fall apart as his physical capacity faded. Once a king of country music and Hollywood, the man was now fighting the hard facts of aging, disease, and financial devastation. Notwithstanding all of this, Reed had a devoted following even in his last years. Many did not realize, though, that Reed withdrew from public view and concentrated on his last days in seclusion as his health declined. The end was close, and his path through life had caught up with him. September 1, 2008 saw Reed die at 71 years old. Along with ending a great career, his death highlighted the personal challenges he had been tormented with for decades. Jerry Reed's last years reflected sadly the cost of celebrity, addiction, and bad decisions. Still, his legacy as one of the most gifted guitarists and performers in country music is intact in spite of all the suffering. What could have been had Reed chosen differently in early years of his life? Could his last years have differed? Even on the most brilliant stars, his life continues to be a potent reminder of the toll that celebrity, addiction, and personal issues can have. The lasting legacy of Jerry Reed's music and influence. Jerry Reed died too soon, but his music and impact will live on forever, inspiring musicians, artists, and listeners alike. His impact shows how his unique mix of country music, stories, and unquestionable guitar skills changed both Hollywood and country music. Reed's life ended in tragedy, but his art continues to inspire people, and his influence lasts long after he was at his peak. Reed broke new ground right from the start of his music career. More than just a singer, his 1970 song "Guitar Man" showed how clever he was with the guitar, and it turned into "The Claw." By mixing fingerstyle playing with thumb picking, this method let him make a sound that was clear, melodic, and rhythmic. Even though Reed is best known for performing and acting, this guitar trick made him become a legend in the history of country music. The careers of well-known artists like Vince Gill, Brad Paisley, and Keith Urban have all said that Reed had an effect on their own. Reed is, according to Urban, one of the best guitar players who has ever picked up an instrument. His contribution to the style is both simple and important. Reed's country past doesn't just affect the way he plays the guitar. The fact that his signature fingerpicking style has made its way into blues and rock shows how versatile his impact is. Reed's creative way of mixing rhythm and lead guitar has influenced musicians like Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin and even rockabilly singer Brian Setzer. It's not a surprise that his style, which mixed technical skill with simple musicality, is still used today. Reed proved his place in popular culture through movies with his role in Smokey and the Bandit. He was great as Cletus Snow, who is also known as the Snowman, and paired well with Burt Reynolds' performance as the main character. Reed was a legend in both Hollywood and country music because of his deadpan humor, stage presence, and natural ability to make people laugh. His role in Smokey and the Bandit made him a famous person all over the world. Fans of all ages still enjoy the movie a lot, and Reed's acting has held up like a fine wine, still being popular decades after it came out. People in the 1970s liked to take things easy and have fun, and his character came to reflect that. Still, Reed was important for more than just his work in movies and music. He was a real storyteller as an artist, whether it was through his music, acting, or making up characters that were bigger than life. These three of his songs, When You're Hot, Eastbound and Down, and The Bird, are still considered some of the best in their genre. People remember these songs not only for their catchy tunes, but also for the stories they told. Stories of love, mischief, and hard-won wisdom. People still like to listen to them, and they encourage younger people to learn more about his work. One of the most amazing things about Reed's legacy is how his music crosses decades. Many types of artists still cover his songs, and modern country singers often say that he influenced them. His songs are just as relevant now as they were when he was at the top of his game. His commitment to being real in both his personal life and his music paved the way for other artists who want to combine different influences, make good music, and follow moral standards in the music business. Reed's legacy is full of lessons on how to be strong, honest, and never give up on following your goal. Even though they made the last few years of his life dark, his personal problems did not make his work less brilliant. Even so, Reed's story is a powerful warning that perfection and imperfection can coexist in a society that ignores addicts too often. His story shows us that ability can shine through even in hard times, and that success doesn't have to be perfect. So, what makes Jerry Reed's impact different from others? His unique blend of musical skill, storytelling, and undeniable charm is still relevant in today's world. Jerry Reed's influence is still felt today, which is why he will always be hot. From his creative way of playing the guitar to his famous movie roles. From triumphs to trials, Parker Schnabel's story reminds us all of the power of persistence and resilience in the face of adversity. Despite the challenges, he continues to push the limits of what's possible in the mining world. But what does the future truly hold for this mining prodigy? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think is next for Parker? And what impact will his journey have on the mining industry? Leave your comments below.